What's up, world? What's up, internet? I'm Deanna Jean Pierce,
Dan here.
and we're posting this on my YouTube channel, The Faith That Grows. This is something we've been wanting to do more of, is like movie reviews. And we saw Devil Wears Prada 2 this year. It came out on May 1st, 2026. We saw it in theaters pretty much right away. We were super excited when it came out.
Yeah, this was another one of those.
And we wanted to film a movie review and talk about it. And I want to preface this by saying that growing up, Devil Wears Prada was like one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched it over and over and over and over. I knew every line.
Oh, wow.
Every scene. I read the book many times. And I was just obsessed with Devil Wears Prada. And so when I saw that Devil Wears Prada 2 is coming out, it brought up a lot for me. It was quite emotional. It kind of almost was like a reality check in my life that Devil Wears Prada 2 is already coming out. Life is moving forward. It was kind of shocking almost. And so, it was very nostalgic. It provided a lot of closure for me to see this movie, and let's talk about it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, actually, it was really Deanna that introduced me to loving this movie. And she actually explained that, she introduced it to me through the teachings of unionism as a symbol of ascension. And that became my primary interest in this movie. I actually did find Devil Wears Prada to be a fascinating story about ascension. And the second piece really fantastically completes that story. So that's the angle I want to take. And I mentioned Deanna might want to take her own angle on it all.
So, had you seen the movie Devil Wears Prada before you met me?
I may have, but I didn't remember it. It was really, you introduced it to me, and you mentioned that it had significance in the community as being a symbol of ascension. And so when you showed it to me, I was profoundly impacted.
It's a great,
Yeah.
it is a really fantastic book and movie. Are we ready to jump into how we felt? Or
Yeah, I have a lot to say. I know you have a lot to say.
we both have so much to say.
So who starts?
So
Go for it.
yeah, I don't want to start off on a bad note, but I will just say that um The Devil Wears Prada 2 was not as engaging and fascinating for me as the first movie. I'll just say that. For me, Devil Wears Prada 2 was extremely realistic, and it kind of provided a healing for the problems that were
Correct,
present in
yeah.
Devil Wears Prada that never really got pulled apart. So one thing I will say is, so if you have ever seen the TV show Emily in Paris, I don't know if this is true, but I always felt that the title of that show, Emily in Paris, please someone tell me if I'm correct about this or if I'm not. I always felt it was kind of trying to provide this healing from Devil Wears Prada, where Emily, the first assistant, didn't get to go to Paris in Devil Wears Prada 1, and they had Andy go. It should go without saying, massive spoiler alerts in this video. And so when Emily in Paris came out, Emily in Paris is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I adore this, but I always felt the title and the fact that it was Emily going to Paris, I always felt that that show already was trying to provide some of the healing to Devil Wears Prada 1. And I will also say Devil Wears Prada is like a massive cultural phenomenon. And if you're not aware of that, now you know. There's even a band called Devil Wears Prada. And MGK, in his song Lonely Roads, he mentions Devil Wears Prada. Everyone is kind of aware of this movie. It's an extremely impactful story. And so, yeah, just real quick again, when the TV show Emily in Paris came out, even though it seemed completely unrelated to Devil Wears Prada, when I watched Emily in Paris, I felt like I was receiving a healing for the Devil Wears Prada storyline. I personally felt that in Devil Wears Prada 1, that having Andy go to Paris and like kind of leapfrog over Emily, it was too intense. I feel like Andy manifested this because she felt like she had something to prove and she really wanted to make it. And the way that she entered the fashion world, she was kind of shit on originally. And so she kind of came in as like this underdog wanting to prove herself.
Mhm.
And so it feels like she called in way more than she could
Ah,
handle,
interesting. Yeah,
way too fast. And since you
interesting.
have free will, since you have infinite power as a child of God, we see Andy like manifest this really fast ascension in the fashion world, but then she didn't sustain it because
Right.
it was too uncomfortable for her. She was
Hmm.
losing her friends that destabilized her. She lost her old spoilers. Just I'll put that in the
Okay.
caption or in the title. Um spoiler. Um she lost her boyfriend and she started dating someone that she didn't really have the same core values with, and um it was all very ungrounded.
Mm,
And
mm,
another thing is that Miranda Priestley, as fascinating as a character as she was, she played little games and she didn't run her office with love and fairness. There was abuse there, which is why I laughed out loud in the theater when we went to see Delaware's Prado 2 and they talked about HR complaints for Miranda Priestley. I'm like, that's exactly what would happen as the ascension continues. We don't want to see people, um she, Miranda Priestley, I've always joked since I found out I had Asperger's. I always made this joke that Miranda Priestley probably had Asperger's. She was so focused on the higher vision, but at the same time the Devil Wears Prada 2 does reveal the there's problems going on that need to be addressed. And I feel that Miranda, it was a co created situation in Devil Wears Prada 1, where Miranda was kind of pitting Emily and Andy against each other. That was kind of her game. Like,
mm,
oh, Emily is useless to me now because she's getting sick, and now you're the best assistant. This is all kind of ego games and trying to create competition and pit people against each other who are really supposed to just be partnered and friends. And so you see in Devil Wears Prada
mm.
2,
Okay.
Andy and Emily have a friendship that they always needed.
Ah, interesting.
Um, and so yeah, I feel like perhaps whenever I was feeling into Devil Wears Prada 1, I always felt that what Andy needed was, to have a more compassionate, but she called it in
She
too.
did.
Like, so this is the thing. It was a co-created situation where
Hmm.
and this is why the second movie provides such a deep healing. Um um Andy called in more than she could handle. That's why she ended up quitting when she was on the trip to Europe.
Hmm.
Emily didn't
Right.
get her due. She had actually earned that
Mm,
karmically and worked for it for years.
mm,
And for Miranda to just kind of like fuck with her like that, that wasn't so
mm,
great. Emily and Andy could have gone to Paris together and helped each
mm,
other, or Emily could have gone and Andy could have gone the next year because Andy wanted to keep her old boyfriend. She wanted to
mm.
keep her old
Interesting.
friends.
Interesting.
She
Hmm.
she hadn't been there for all those years building
Hmm.
building this stamina and really being. Miranda kind of latched onto her right away and was like, I see myself in you. I see your light. But
Mm.
Andy never was honest with Miranda. And that's why, you want to talk about autism. Andy was probably masking. Um, she was masking, because everyone to Miranda Priestley's face was like, yes, yes, ma'am, whatever you say, and then they would bitch behind their back. No one was really honest.
That's
um
interesting. Yeah.
and so Andy had to quit in order to be more honest, and that's
Uh-huh.
unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
What
Interesting.
she needed to do is say, like, I don't want to
Mm.
fire Emily, I don't want to move this quickly in the company, I'm overwhelmed, I need more work life balance. That's
Mm.
another thing, is work life balance. Um,
Oh, yeah.
we know more about work life balance nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And The Devil Wears Prada 1, it kind of highlights this really unrealistic um, ideal of high fashion.
Mm.
But as the world ascends and humanity evolves, we understand sustainability. We
Mm.
understand that you can't just, like, yeah. But there are still some elements of that in Devil Wears Prada too, because you have Miranda saying, "Don't you love working?" So Miranda hasn't changed much, but the company has changed around her to kind of insist that she keeps up with the times a little bit. Um, yeah. Do you have anything? I have so much to say, but, like, what are
I feel
you?
like, well, I really love hearing what you have to say because you have a deeper relationship with the films. I'm actually learning a lot listening to you. Honestly, my take is very personal. I see myself so much in the Andy character, so I really want to share.
Who doesn't?
I really want to share. It almost makes me emotional, to be honest. Um, my personal relationship with the film is what I want to share. I really appreciate your
I
deep
thought you were about to
analysis.
say, the way you were saying that was like, I need to share my personal relationship with Jesus with you. That's the way you were. That's the way you were saying that.
This film, I mean, honestly, it's I if you want, I can share that piece now. Does this seem like a good time?
Yeah.
So my relationship with this film is personal, and I'm almost getting emotional talking about it.
Get emotional.
It's
I love The Devil Wears Prada. It's a cultural phenomenon. It's affected so many people and so many things.
to me, it's
You might not even know.
about how you can't escape your destiny. You're created for a purpose.
Oh, that was what I was going to say at the
And
very end of this video.
well, we can circle
You're
back to
jumping
that. Well, we
ahead.
didn't confer with
This
each
was
other.
the end of the video.
Well, we can't control where God's going to take this.
You're closing the video already.
I'm not. Can you let me speak, please?
This was the
You
end.
gave me my turn. Um.
Hmm.
So no, it's just a lead in here because that's why it's so emotional to me. So the Devil Wears Prada 1, I always felt wasn't a complete movie because, and the reason why is I felt that um, I felt that both Andy and Miranda had blocks to their ascension. It was represented by the split at the end. And I actually wrote this down. They had two kind of blocks. Like Miranda just saw herself as this like cold blooded character, and
And she
Andy saw,
projected herself onto Andy. And Andy's not quite like that at all.
but
But Miranda
right.
projected herself onto Andy and kind
Mhm.
of pitted Andy against Emily and kind of like tried to make her into a mini Miranda. And Andy's a very different type of person. And
Mhm.
what needed to happen was humility. Miranda needed to humble herself. Andy needed to be more honest. They just needed to talk,
Mhm.
collaborate, connect, partner, and communicate with each other.
Well, and I want to say Andy's block was, and I call this, Andy the hippie. She just didn't feel like she belonged in this wealthy,
She
high
tried too
profile
hard to
world.
overcome that, and it wasn't really that necessary.
Well, what I want to share is I don't feel any perfection in it because there's only perfection in the universe. I feel perfection in her journey. So the reason why it resonates so deeply with me is it's honestly that first movie to me is like Deanna and I had experience called spiritual boot camp. And
Yeah.
it was like
We
kind of
talked about
being
this right after the movie.
it
We're
was
like,
kind of
this
like
is
being
what it felt like.
slingshotted into your full life purpose, but in a way you're not.
In a way that was a little bit unsustainable,
But
but we called
the
it
truth
in.
is, it's that God sometimes it's not that it wasn't her time yet. It was that sometimes you have to have a taste of your true life purpose, and then you have to build your way up to it. So it's like
And
God might hold on a sec. God might slingshot you super high, but then
To
bringing you
show
back
you
down
who you
so that you
are,
can go on the journey.
so that you can grow into it more sustainably and comfortably.
So I felt like exactly like the first movie was God revealing to Andy who she really is, a very high profile, powerful person, and her having this experience and taste of her true self. But at the end of the movie, she was, she got that taste, but then she had to drop back to her true vibration at the time, which was a
This
journalist, of
is
a gritty journalist,
greedy,
gritty,
gritty.
a gritty, yeah,
So, there's so much to talk
I
about.
know.
We're so
So
passionate about this. So, in the end of Devil Wears Prada 1, and you see this moment of her, like, she'd lost all this weight and she was masking. Yes, she loved the fashion.
mm,
Yes, she loved being around people with higher vision.
right.
Yes, she loved being around um she loved being around
Correct.
the that's where she wanted to be. That was
That's
for
that
her.
that that's
That's
exactly
for
what I mean.
her, but she didn't have to change to fit in.
Right.
When she first
Right.
got there, she was like eating her onion bagels and getting her soup and like her clam chowder, and everyone's making fun of her. Like, and then
Correct.
she got this complex that she needed to prove something.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so she just kind
Hmm.
of became this ferocious, um, and it was really powerful to see that you can change that quickly. You can ascend that fast.
Absolutely.
But if you are denying any
Correct.
parts of yourself,
That's huge.
eventually it's going to explode in your face.
That's
Like you
right.
said, gritty journalism. Andy's biological family was trying to help her with this. Andy did not get to live the full and complete life she wanted. She wanted to spend time with her family. You can see in the Devil Wears Prada 1, she's trying to hang out with her dad. And Miranda's always calling her fucking phone. There were no boundaries with work. This is why work life balance is so important. Andy wanted to spend more time with her friends and family. Andy didn't want to like change her style that dramatically that quickly. Andy wanted to spend more time writing, and her biological family was trying to kind of help her with that, because her parents were like, we get emails from you at like all hours of the day. You don't get to write anything at Runway. And Andy's like, well, that's not fair. I wrote you those emails. But it was God through her parents trying to say, bring more of yourself into this company. And if Andy had spent more time loving herself, attuning herself to her truth, she may not have had to vibe out of Runway for 20 years and come back like this.
Well,
If people had been more
yeah.
honest about how Runway was being run in a very unrealistic, inhumane, and unsustainable way. That when you suppress your truth for a really long time, you will have to separate and come back so that you can be your true self.
I'm
But
gonna
if you're just
hold
your
on.
true self right away and you don't lose sight of that, that rift might not have to
I
happen.
think that you're also you're I'm gonna give my angle on this because really for me I see God's perfection in it because we're on a planet of ascension and I do see the first movie as perfect. I think that Andy got a taste of what she loved, but she wasn't fully ready for that because it's important to remember it's 20 years before she goes back. That was 20 years, and she actually loved her life in between. What she was doing in between was important. She got a taste of that world, but she had to actually go on her individual path, which was she loved gritty journalism. And she got to do that for 20 years and refine that skill and craft, which 20 years later, Miranda desperately needed. And here's the thing. She didn't
So
she
are
no no
you
no let me
saying
just
that
yeah.
that rift was always going to happen?
Yes,
Okay.
because you're always going to get what you truly desire and
Because she didn't really want to hone herself as an assistant.
she wanted to be and she got to be who she really was those 20 years, which was a gritty fucking journalist, and she did great at it and it
That
showed.
was her core passion.
But it actually showed at the end, it's the beginning of Devil's Wears Prada 2, and it's an essential moment. It shows you where she transcends. It looks like a rock bottom moment. She gets let go. She had worked 20 years sharing like award-winning journalism just to be let go. And that's an example of a moment where it looks like, oh my God, the universe just effed me. But that wasn't what was happening. She actually had transcended, finally, after 20 years, gritty journalism so she could bring those skills to her true passion, which was Vogue and, or not Vogue, sorry, Runway, and the fashion world. And so that was perfect because
I see what you're saying.
at that point, because she had loved her journey up until then, but she needed those skills, that 20 years of honing her craft and ascending herself to be an award-winning journalist to be able to be somebody that could save a company as big as Runway. And that and the
Wow.
power of the
A
power
true Christ.
yes, the power of Devil Wears Prada 2.
Because
No, here,
she couldn't have honed those
correct.
skills in Runway.
Correct.
There wasn't an opening for that.
And the beauty of the second movie, and I loved this, is she actually meets Miranda as an equal. And Miranda is kind of jarred by this, but they need each other equally. And Miranda has to be humbled in the second movie because her company is suffering. They need Andy's 20 years of award-winning journalism to save them. So she's not this, groveling.
This wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, insecure,
Nope.
groveling girl
She's an
anymore.
award-winning journalist, 20 years, and
Humility.
yes, but they both had to humble themselves. In a way, Andy had to humble herself and be like, actually, I do want wealth. She had to let go of some of that hippie mentality.
Right.
And it was symbolized in the movie in her meeting someone who's actually more aligned to her. It was a real estate mogul, not the chef from the first movie. Her true romantic partner was a real estate mogul, and her ascension was mirrored in her getting this amazing, uh, like very expensive New York apartment that actually represents her wealth vibration. So what's so beautiful about Devil's Wears Prada 2, and I think where you see those character transformations is, Miranda is constantly humbled in Devil's Wears Prada 2. Um, we love Miranda for who she is. She needs to be a powerful woman, but the same way, in order for her to succeed, she had to make way for other women to succeed, and that was, and to be themselves. And so that's what I love about the movie is Andy had gained enough confidence that she could come, as Deanna said, with all of herself. There was no compromise in this. She knew I'm a fucking badass. I have amazing things to give, and Miranda, you're going to fail without me. You need me.
At the end of the day, what the Devil Wears Prada 2 reveals is what I know and what I hope everyone knows is that all relationships are destined to become holy.
Correct.
All relationships are destined to become holy. And what it really reveals is you can't, it actually reveals a lot. It's actually like bringing up a lot in my solar plexus. What the Devil Wears Prada 2 reveals is that while you can't escape who you're meant to be partnered with and who you're meant to be working with, you have to be your full, complete self to actually have the partnership.
And trust your journey. Because honestly, you have to trust that God loves you perfectly. And when you understand the perfection of the universe, there's nothing that can happen that's not in your favor.
So Andy was loving Runway the entire time.
Exactly. Now you got it.
But in a way that only she could.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the end of Devil Wears Prada 1 is there's no animosity between Andy and Emily, between Miranda and Andy. Miranda gives Andy a good reference. Miranda is really masterful. She smiles at the end when she sees Andy because secretly Miranda is, Miranda Priestley respects her and feels deep down that something bigger than her current level of awareness is going on. And that there's only love between them.
There you go. Yep.
And she can't. And I love Devil Wears Prada.
It's a beautiful story.
And so, yeah, it's it's hard because when you watch Devil Wears Prada 1, you love all these characters together, and you don't. You just everyone loves it, but you have to hone you have to hone your unique gifts,
Correct.
or your partnership with others is gonna not really be.
And you have to trust that God is going to take you on the path to do that. A lot of times people feel like, how can this be my path? And I think Andy in that first movie would dealt with a lot of that. What the fuck am I doing at Runway? How is this in my path? I'm a gritty journalist. And it took her literally 20 years to figure out what that experience was really about. But she had to trust. That was perfect for her. It got her door in so that 20 years later she could literally save one of the biggest magazines on the planet and revive it. And so you have to trust that, like, you might not understand your journey,
And
but there's
honestly, Andy's
purpose.
brave. Andy's brave because,
Hmm.
yeah, you. Let's think real quick before the video ends. Like, what would have happened if she would have stayed at Runway? What she would, that wasn't
She'd
her
be compromising
character.
herself.
That wasn't her character. That wasn't her life
Right.
path.
Right.
Her life
She
path was not to be the next Miranda Priestley or
correct.
just an assistant. Like, she had a
Yeah.
very specific skill set and passion,
Correct.
and
Hmm.
it does remind me of me in my experience with Twin Flames Universe, where like I am a writer and I'm a musician. I'm also a preacher, and like I can't, like, in order to really have relationships and offer partnership, you
Correct.
do have to spend your time honing your gifts.
You have to love yourself. What I love, this that brings to mind this beautiful moment in Devil Wears Prada 2, where Andy is so transformed. She literally just waltzes because she's got this big position in the company. Now just waltzes into Miranda's office and is just like, "Hey, I'm gonna come save you." And she's like, "Who are you?" But she's
You know,
unfazed.
when Miranda said, "Who are you?" I'm like, that's not realistic. That's
But
not
it's
realistic.
Miranda saving face, really. I think.
That, I didn't think that was realistic at all.
But
Miranda would have absolutely remembered Andy.
But the
That
same
was
time,
not realistic.
Miranda might have said that just to get under her skin. Let's be honest.
Or
I thought,
just to be Miranda.
yes, I thought that
Miranda
was
being
perfect.
Miranda.
But
But
the
like, is hilarious that like it's obvious Miranda didn't change that much, but like I said,
no, that's not true.
the company around her had to change, HR complaints and all those things. Like, it's really just showing how consciousness does evolve, and
And
it's
I
kind of funny.
It is, but she does change because she's able to actually meet
She
Andy
changes
more
in
as
a
an equal
way. In a
in a way.
way.
Like life has to humble for her to get to that place, but she does start to like her connection with Andy is deep, and it's from a place of equality at the end. It's from a place and even I forget Emily Blunt's character's name in it, but she plays a part. That's a whole other story. But their whole arc of all of these characters comes to this like,
Emily. Her name's Emily.
oh, it is. Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness.
Emily's Emily.
Forgot. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Emily's Emily.
um, yeah, it's just a beautiful story of like somebody owning their, embracing their dream, and but also partnering with the universe and with God, because Andy would have never chosen this for herself, but she didn't, because God knows you better than you know yourself. God knows what's going to make you happy. So that's why it's a partnership, because Andy just followed her golden thread and it led her to her ultimate joy. But she could have never guessed where that golden thread would actually, she would have, if you had asked her at the beginning of the movie what her golden thread was, she would never say, "Oh, it's to be one of the leading journalists for Runway." It, because that was God's vision. God understood that was going to be her happiest path. So
I just want to say, I think potentially she didn't have to quit Runway if people had been more honest and partnered. The rift potentially didn't need to happen if she had literally had the Christ light in her and said, I want to be writing more. I want to be focusing on writing. Potentially something could have worked out, but everyone would have had to have really been willing to partner, and there would have had to have been a lot of humility and
30
Christ
seconds. I just want to
energy.
point that out.
So potentially the 20-year gap didn't have to happen, but everyone would have had to have really been um,
God's
really
trust God's
really
perfection
healed and
is,
partnered for
yeah.
that to have worked out. before she quit.
I think it was perfect, but there you go.
All right. Thanks for watching. And yeah, share what you think about Double Wears Prada 1 and 2 below.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great day.
Bye bye.